When you talk about a game like Capcom's Monster Hunter World, you can't help but feel a little bit intimidated because this game is absolutely enormous. They've gone back to the drawing board a little bit with this title. They've really tried to create something that's going to appeal to a much wider audience. Monster Hunter has been very successful in the past as a portable game, as a handheld game, as a social game. But with Monster Hunter World, it's really about being irrefutably attractive to a wide spectrum of players out there. And all of the core design choices that they've done with Monster Hunter over the years are sort of recaptured here, but it's been finessed and fine-tuned so that you're not spending as many seconds in animations that you don't want to see. You can kind of zip through this thing. Also, I've always enjoyed the Monster Hunter games. They've always given me some great reward out of playing them, but I've also found them to be a little cumbersome, a little bit slow, and certainly some of that remains with menu navigation and trying to figure out all of the systems that are in place in Monster Hunter World. But it has been fine-tuned so things start off with a bang and you are given a whole collection of great options and choices right out of the get-go.
Cheers!
This is a loot game. This is a game where you are, killing monsters, obviously, and taking loot from them and then turning that loot into better loot. And, you collect forest mushrooms and leaves and herbs and things like that, and you convert them into useful buffs and items that you're going to need as your hunter's skill progresses and as the challenge increases. All of that stuff is in there, and that's always been in there, but it took a lot longer to kind of find the joy in previous Monster Hunter games. With this game, you are sort of thrust into this beautiful opening cinematic of this giant beast that destroys a ship, and you're just freaking out, and suddenly a pterodactyl's lifting you and you're flying into an area and you're on the hunt almost right away. And one of the major things that I've always appreciated about Monster Hunter is that they give you a plethora of different combat choices right out of the gate. You get all kinds of weapons, giant swords, axes, hammers, projectile weapons, and you can use any one that you want, and you can change them at any time that you want to, unless you want to sell them for money to sort of specialize in a specific area. And I just find that incredibly generous and intriguing because right away you get this kind of fork in the road that says, try this any way that you want. And it's really fun because you can go back and hunt these, the same kinds of beasts that you take down, but with a different weapon. You might find, a projectile weapon is better in this case, or your great sword is better in this case. And it's so flexible and it makes it so much fun. And I think that's even amplified here because obviously we get better production values. It's made for the modern day systems. It's from a ground up kind of new visual sort of standpoint, especially if you're playing this on one of the 4K machines, the Xbox One X or the PlayStation 4 Pro. It's absolutely gorgeous. They've done a phenomenal job of appealing to us there, but also, thrusting us into situations where it doesn't take very long to mine some ore that you might be able to use for better armor down the road. All of the loops, all of the collection, all of the sort of quests that you go on, and you go on these main quests where your object is to kill these monsters and hunt them and bring them back, either to save a village or to get something from their body that will be useful later. But you're also out, sent on sort of mini quests and side quests for botanists and researchers and things that are trying to use the ecology as the foundation of their technology. And I love the sort of balance message that Monster Hunter World is kind of projecting at us as well. It's not like the hunters are just trying to take over and dominate the environment and crush all the living things out there. They're trying to find an ecological balance, and they're trying to cull monsters that have maybe grown a little bit too large in population. And yes, it doesn't thump you over its head with its with its message of trying to find harmony in nature or anything like that, but you can see it filters through. And plus, the nature that's created for us is just so bloody beautiful. It's gorgeous. The forests, the deserts, the caves, the tunnels, the underwater sequences, absolutely stunning. And also the animations of these creatures are just phenomenal. And finally, we can see them on the large screen and, look up at them and just see the majestic size and all of the unbelievably cool detail. It's particularly incredible in two ways. You know, the core experience is fun as a single-player game, but when you get a bunch of other people, it escalates in its enjoyment in so many cool ways. You see all of the animations of all of the different players, and everybody kind of working in concert, or struggling to, because it's not easy, but it's addictive, and it's just joyful to see, you know, that collaborative spirit orchestrated so well on screen, particularly, and this is the other way that this thing really kind of just hits you over the head with just like, oh my God, I can't believe. It's got a lot of these Jurassic Park moments where monsters are fighting other monsters, and you kind of go in there with I had this bone rod too. That was one of my weapons. I don't name these things. I got good with it though, because it shoots a projectile of these little insects that go and bug monsters, and no pun intended, and they bring back stuff for me that's useful, and you can actually vault off of it and land on top of the monsters. But every once in a while, the monsters will be fighting themselves, and you just watch this carnage happen, and you're poking it with your bone rod and taking down tiny little numbers in terms of hit points. It takes a long time to kill these beasts, and it ramps up in difficulty if you've got more players online playing with you. You can shoot out these SOS flares and call people randomly, or you create a squad and bring people to your group. It's way more fun as a collective. I played a little bit with Adrian Leon, one of EPN's big supporters out there. How's it going, Adrian? We were having a great time. The monster that we were chasing ultimately kicked our ass. Very tough monster. But you can see that there's strategy here. There's a lot of tracking. There's a lot of kind of learning the secrets of these things, and you know, you can go and read up on them in the lore books, and there's all of this detail, and it's fun to play it single player. It's way more fun to play it with other people, and then you recognize that once you've kind of gotten past the campaign and all of the story and all the cool cutscenes and everything, they've got like this uber monster hunting kind of challenge for you, where everything is much more difficult, but you know the intricacies and you know the basics. This is one of those games that you can't walk away from easily, and if that's a quibble, it's kind of a weird one, because you are completely addicted to it. It's very pleasant, it's very joyful, but sometimes it's exhausting a little bit that you just want to put it down and walk away. Now, you can abandon a quest, but you can't really pause it and go back to it. That makes it a little bit tough if you've got a family or if you've got other responsibilities or whatever, because you don't want to walk away from it. You feel like you're responsible to this quest. You've got people depending on you, but that's part of the way they build the Monster Hunter games. They attract you, they create a social sort of network for you to kind of join up with other hunters and have fun there, and you get sucked in, man. You really do, and it's deserving of all the praise. It's deserving of this, you know, sales explosion that's happening right now for Capcom around the world. Monster Hunter World is sensational. It's one of the strongest games of 2018 so far. It gets a 9.5 out of 10 from me.